Good morning. Huh. What time is it where you are? Yeah. So you were in eastern, eastern, um, eastern United States. It's 5 a.m. Toronto. Oh, very cool. This is my Zelda project. I'm not sure if you've seen it or if you've seen much of it. Right now, it's kind of hard to tell because it's all in flux. It's all in the half-baked phase. Hmm. This one goes deep. Some of these characters are more like out of the original Zelda. Although they all get revisited over time, they take on different forms, and in some cases I've attempted to improve them. There's a screen layer here that is preventing full visibility, but if I load up an earlier version, you can see some of the stuff. So when I talk about, I mean, I had the very first Zelda on NES that I played. Super difficult game with all of its charms. But you had to use your imagination more back then. Okay. This won't be very visible unless I zoom in on it, so. But only because you were asking about storyboarding stuff the other day. The purpose of this project is to create a series of key art Zelda storyboards that can go into portfolio, so that if ever the call comes to, hey, they're staffing on the new Zelda movie, do you have anything we can submit? I can say, yes, I do. Here they are. So these were rough sketches that I did live on the stream earlier. Like, some of these were done months ago. Depending on how busy I am with work, I'm not able to work on it every day. But things got slow again very recently, so this week I've been wide open, so I've just been like, okay, back into streaming. But if you are familiar with Zelda, you'll recognize some of these themes. And if not, hopefully they look like some cool images. I'm overall spending way too much time trying to make things look pretty. I'm drawing them at a very high resolution. These aren't even really storyboards per se. It's like keyframes more. Kind of stories in a single picture. That may eventually turn into something like a storyboard. The very first Zelda, like the NES Zelda, really? It's far too difficult, and it's extremely difficult to even know what you can do. Like, what do you do, you know? This is a fun little... I'm gonna quickly save my progress. I'm gonna restart my drawing application. So the references we used were purely from the game art, pre-existing game art, but obviously much of the 99% of the design had to come on the fly. Here, I'll show you the references. Well, let's see if I can find them without opening up all sorts of folders that expose me or something. Let's see here. The attempt here is also to so some of these like original bits of art were used as inspiration for themes. Obviously you can see this stuff is super cartoony, super low res. So only trying to use let's come back. And if I could beg a little patience with my system. I made the mistake of opening up other programs before I opened up my drawing program, and I think that shortchanged it on the memory it's looking for. So this drawing, which is in a state of work in progress, is the reimagining, if you can see it, of this drawing. So, did I use a reference? Yes, I used this as the reference. But, no, all of this was drawn live from my imagination. I did eventually use a reference for the exact approach on how to do the anatomy of these legs. But even then, it was not a one-to-one thing. I didn't use a millipede. It was just a beetle, had some interesting legs that I referenced by absorbing it into my brain and then more or less animating it along this curved path, getting up there. This pose, I didn't use reference. That's probably why the sword looks janky. But I've done a lot of storyboards, and I know how to draw from my imagination without reference. So this moblin was taken from, let's see if I can find it. So here we go. So these two guys are these two guys. That was my challenge for that day. Draw this guy, except better. and make him look cool. And draw this guy, except better, and make him look cool. So that's where we're going with that. Yeah, it's a reimagining, I think, is the old version is fun, but definitely aesthetically geared to younger audiences, or maybe the illustrator here was more proficient in game art and not so much illustration art. And I'm not saying I would be a whiz at doing pixel art. You know, these are different things. So all of these represent different character or different kinds of themes. Some of them were taken as scenes from the previous game. Some of them are wholly from my imagination. Like this is Link and Zelda getting away on a horse while a giant Octorok is destroying the background. Let's see if this works this time. But I'm glad you like it. It's still not working. This is funny. Oh. It's funny, the program is just confused which layer I'm drawing on. So if you ever get into digital art, don't start using Corel Painter. But you would be familiar then with the Octorok, which is sort of this land-roving octopus. I don't get paid much to do painting, but I've got I've got my studies. Got some hello new person. We were just I'm looking around to see if I have any paintings that I dare show, because I'm not a Hi there, Luke. Let's see here. These aren't very good. This is a Mona Lisa I painted for my wife. I don't know if the lighting is good enough to show it. This is a yeah, this is no format to showcase real paintings. Got some paintings of my cats. These are digital paintings of my cats. I'm a sketcher. I'm a sketcher by trade. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be anything other than an expert storyboard artist when it comes to advertising, short form films, and video game trailers. That I am an expert in. It's taught me a fair amount about drawing and composition. But even what I'm doing right now, this sort of key art stuff, is something I'm almost never hired to do. Almost never. Which is a shame, because I think I'm decently good at it, but what they tend to do is hire me just to do the storyboards, figure out the story, figure out the shots for the director. For the director or with the director. Directors can be very busy. They have all kinds of things on their plate. I usually can't finish things. Yeah, I'm not a finisher myself. I kind of need that more quick result, although I'm trying to be patient on these with this project, but Luke, where are you based? Vermont, I might guess, but maybe not. Well, your last two letters in your handle are VT. People from Vermont could be cool. I don't know. I don't know any. I'm in LA. Oh, VTuber, of course, of course. So you should know I'm not a Twitch expert. I'm very much a newbie. Do you have a channel? If you follow me, I'll try to check out your channel later. Especially if you draw. I'm curious what other streamer artists are up to. You do be a drawer. That's extremely cool. I'm interested in, like I said, I'm fairly new to this, and a lot of the people who've been supportive, especially at the outset, have been a lot of people who follow my brother. So my brother is a streamer, and he has a lot of friends, and they're very supportive, and all that is great. And they say I've been doing a good job. I'm not sure if this is super entertaining right now. So I'm just sort of rendering and adding lines to things. I could stand to zoom in on this a bit more so you can see. Oh, comic book stuff. Great. I had a little run at trying to be a comic book artist. Well, I appreciate the encouragement. This is a stream where I may not talk about storyboarding and that sort of, you know, comics actually dovetails with storyboarding. They're like kin crafts in a way. I definitely think of them that way, and most of my colleagues do too. Oh, I may not talk about it on this stream, this instantiation of the stream today, like this in the next 15 minutes or so. I may not talk about it, but I talk about it all the time, actually. If you have any questions about storyboarding, I could definitely answer. Comic stuff, your guess is as good as mine. I don't think there are any real comic book experts, but I mean, I could dig up some old comic stuff I could show you, but maybe on another time. One thing I've been doing is the Reddit has these draw me sessions or draw me posts, like draw me, like someone posts a picture of themselves and asks artists to draw them. And so I did a couple of those earlier this week, and it drove a lot of drove a lot of traffic to the stream, which was cool to see. I didn't want to do too much of that and get spammy, but today I'm going to do another little round, maybe a few, see how it goes. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and when you say comics, do you mean like comic books or more like comic strip, right? And yeah. That's a great idea. I'm going to take your advice. Maiko, I'm glad you said that. The one thing I'm used to being like a behind the scenes guy, where in like part of the job is like, here's the money, now shut up and never disclose what you did for us, and we're gonna take all the credit kind of thing. And usually I'm happy enough to do that, but work has been slow lately. You know, even Pixar is laying off people, and you know, I'm all for the money for silence thing, except when I'm not getting, except when they turn that faucet off, and then I'm like, huh, maybe I shouldn't be like, I'll be silent on what I agreed to, but not preemptively. I can actually use this as an excuse to put my name out there more. So I did look at the I looked at the R Zelda. I was like, okay. And then it's like, other Reddits you might be interested in. Zelda porn. And I'm like, oh no, what is this? So I made the mistake of clicking on that, and I was like, well, there's an audience here, isn't there? I'm interested in definitely posting some stuff to the Zelda Reddit. I think some of the stuff I want to get into a little bit more of a closer finish. So basically when I get to like the half, let's say I'm halfway done, I've got half these images done and the other half are not finished, I will maybe make a post and say, hey, tune in if you want to check out how I do the last half. That seems like a strategy. So then they'd have something finished to look at if they wanted something finished to look at, and if they're interested, there's still some stuff left to go, right? Oh, you make one of those crate. Do you do like long this way or long this way? Vertically long. Okay. Yeah, I've definitely seen those kinds of formats. If you guys would let me be right back in just 1 minute. My wife is about to go to work, so I'm going to give her a kiss. Alrighty. She's being really supportive and thinks this is a cool idea to, if nothing else, keep myself busy while I wait for the phone to ring. I had a dream last night, though, that someone was going to hire me today, so that's interesting. We'll see if that actually happens. And Maiko, you were asking about references, but like just so you know, like there's no like what I'm drawing right now is just I'm just riffing on it's just what feels like it wants to be to me. I'm not an octopus expert, but I've drawn enough octopuses in my lifetime to know the basics. And where I know the basics, I know enough about other types of textures and different things that feel like they could work. No, I have not played Tears of the Kingdom. I am a I got all the way through Twilight Princess, which I loved, but I don't remember very well. I was a little bit of a stoner at the time, and very much enjoyed, playing Zelda. That was great. My real Zelda experience was on Link to the Past and for the SNES, and then Ocarina of Time, of course. I also really loved, I have to admit, Link's Awakening, the one on the original Game Boy. It had a really great distilled version of the Link to the Past experience, which felt more accessible. So I definitely enjoyed that one a lot. And it was still fairly pre-popular internet, so, and I didn't have a guide, like I really had to figure it out myself, but I was at an age where it was actually possible for me to do that. So the challenge was met by young Max. Oh man, Nintendo Power. So now you guys are gonna get some interesting history. I don't know how old you guys are. Do you remember the original Zelda cartoon? I've seen some of it recently. Okay, well, if you stick around for the credits or watch them in the beginning, you'll see my father's name as the writer on some of those Zelda episodes. Now, I'll give the conceit that the Zeldas are not universally popular, and yeah, my father was a writer on the original Zelda series. This is not made up. This is common knowledge here. IMDb. All right, here we go. Pull up my dad. So let's scroll down till we see Zelda. And you'll see all these things that he worked on. It just goes all the way down. Okay, He-Man. There it is. 13 episodes. Wonder where they say. So he pretty much wrote them all. Not just him, but my aunt as well helped him write some of these things. She was more of a fantasy writer. So these are cool little factoids. Now some of them are attributed, like written by other people, but he has writing credits on all of them because he was story editor as well, I believe. Essentially, he wrote them all. Contributed to the writing of them all, and some of them he outright wrote them all. So that was one of the reasons we had an NES so early on, because I remember accompanying my dad. He used to take me to meetings when he was trying to pitch things. He would use me as a little prop to sort of demonstrate that he had inside knowledge on the target audience, and also to gain a little sympathy, like, hey, I got a kid, give me a job here. But and probably lack of daycare options as well. But he would I would go along to these meetings, and we went to a meeting, and I remember one of the guys at the meeting, ostensibly some Nintendo executive, or maybe it was an executive at like animation company. I'm not sure who that was, but they handed me like my very first Nintendo Power. They're like, hey, you want this? It was just sitting on the receptionist table, and he said, here, you can take this home. That was my first Nintendo Power. Came out of that meeting. And so, like, a year later, Zelda came on. I was nuts about it. It was very cool. And my dad made me a Zelda shield out of, this is so, I found this in my, under my closet, under all my old toys at my parents' house. And it's all jacked up. You know, this is just like red electrical tape on like a spray painted silver plywood board. But it had a handle on the back at one point. And if you were 7 years old, like, this was, as good as anything. He made me a sword too, which I don't have anymore, unfortunately. But sword and a shield, I had a little belt, like, I was cosplaying as Link. And those were fun times. Additionally, They gave my dad resource materials of that. We had a 3-hour-long VHS tape of someone beating Zelda from start to finish. So when Zelda eventually, it was just too hard for me to understand and play. But I enjoyed watching this video of this guy. Basically, it wasn't like you wouldn't call it a speed run, but it kind of was, of a guy basically beating it in under 3 hours. And it was pretty amazing. So my dad could like film impressive old stories, yeah. So then when you couple all this information... That's absolutely right. My dad should get credit for that and stuff. Anyway, my dad's still around. I see him all the time. I saw him yesterday. He's still doing stuff. He's not writing for cartoons anymore, but he had a very good run, and all that is great. So anyway, so I'm mentioning it because it's like, listen, I'm not, some rando. Like, I storyboard for video game trailers. My family has this sort of Zelda legacy. It's like I should be totally involved in this process, right? So I don't know, like, sorry, but I'm not sorry. I want to try and make this happen. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get Nintendo's attention, but this could be cool, right? So probably all I'll get is a cease and desist letter. But that would be their loss. Yeah, this is under the guise of like fan art, but really it's spec art, like speculative, like doing it to ingratiate yourself to a potential employer, theoretically. I've never worked for Nintendo. I've worked on trailers for like Animal Crossing, for instance, but not Nintendo itself has never been a client. I've never been paid to draw Mario or Zelda. Although I'd like to be. More of like a bucket list thing. Well, the trailers themselves were not, I should just say they were like commercials. They were not, those were not, I wouldn't even be able to pull them up with any quickness. And it wouldn't impress you because I didn't know what Animal Crossing was and what they supply by means of reference is just very rudimentary stuff. It's not something that's the unfortunate side about a lot of this stuff is I get hired to work on a video game trailer and it's like a video game I've never heard of. I'm like, okay, can you tell me what it's about? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, what do the characters look like? They're like, we can only show you like old concept art. I'm like, okay, can you tell me where this takes place? They're like, no. And it's like, I get all, basically, in the name of secrecy, which, like, I understand they don't want leaks, and, any vendor is a potential source of leaks. But I'm like, guys, I promise I won't tell. I just want to be able to do a good job, and they give us, like, nothing to work with. It's always been that way. So I've had to become an expert at just sort of making up what could look cool, what does look cool, and, I'm an expert on those things, but I think to have a peek behind the scenes would be more of a disappointment, at least in some of these instances. Eventually, like I was a storyboard artist. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's also the reason to do these samples is even if Zelda doesn't hire me, Like Nintendo says, no thanks. If Zelda is successful as a movie, it'll turn into a franchise. It'll be copied endlessly by all sorts of different studios doing like, this is our Zelda, you know. We can do Zelda too, you know. And then any samples that are like Zelda will serve just as well as samples for Zelda. So none of this is a waste of time. And it, man, I like these music tracks. This is from the, hold on, only because I'm indebted to this artist for coming up with cool DMCA free tracks that I can stream via Spotify to an audience. The Chiltendo Deluxe, cool little track. Dire Docks, yeah. Anyway, what can happen, and this is unfortunately true, is the people that work on a show or movie that are adaptations, they're not necessarily fans of the thing. I think with Zelda, it's a good chance that many people who work on it will be fans of Zelda. But you never know. It could be someone who just doesn't care and is just phoning it in. That would be a shame. Well, if either of you become Nintendo executives, I'm sure you'll put in a good word for me, but we'll keep going and try. And then this Zelda project will last for probably a couple more months, because this is a spare time project. I'm not letting this dominate my entire existence. In a few hours, I'll start doing some Reddit head studies. It drives a good amount of traffic to the stream. And it's great practice. Cool. We ran out of coffee today, so I'm drinking tea. Yeah, I know. My wife is like, what have you done? You drink all the coffee. Cool. I'm glad you were finding this entertaining enough to hang out with. Were you guys just... Maiko, you were checking this out yesterday, so I'm glad you've returned. I'm just curious if this is like, do you guys normally look at streams at 8 a.m. where you are? This must be before your work or before you would get your day started, or maybe you're streamers and you're just checking stuff out, but I'm just curious if you just happen upon it. It's cool if you did. what I'm hoping to do is I would say continue to appreciate and learn about art nonetheless, but this is a super difficult time for even entrenched people like me to even stay in the industry. Super difficult. Oh, good. I'm glad you turned notifications on. That's cool. I think I told you, I was like, yeah, I don't have a stream schedule, but I'll probably get up at 4 to stream. I took a shower first, though. Awesome. I have 2 small children and a wife, and it's important. If this is going to have any longevity, I have to find a balance between it and family time. And by that I mean there will be no balance. There will be family time, and then when family time is done, then I can stream. So this is my window, is when my children are asleep and or when they're at school and my wife is at work. I'm not gonna do this the stupid way and put my real life on hold. I don't know. It's not the stupid way. It's just that will not sustain. That will just cause serious problems if I try to do it without the support of my family. And the only way that can happen is if I make them compliment one another. All right, everybody save your work. The getting up early is the better of the options, where when I started doing this in November, I was doing it backwards, where I was staying up late. And that was fun, but it also reinforced a lot of bad habits, like I would be drinking on stream, like drinking wine or whiskey or something like that. And I wouldn't necessarily do... Well, I did great work. But I didn't set a great example, for instance. And in the broader scheme, I want this to be a potentially... I want there to be some longevity to the concept of coming in, checking out what I'm working on. In a way where it almost feels like... Well, I'm doing this almost to start to manage my demand in different ways. As maybe an educator or a popularizer of storyboards or behind-the-scenes art. And this is very much in the face of like the effect of like AI on the industry and stuff. Yeah, this could be something, if it feels like they're less important than your audience, then they're gonna pick up on that real quick, and that's bad on you. So I try to set a better example. And so part of that was like, okay, I'm not gonna stay up late and get wasted and draw, and that's a good time. There's a different kind of audience, kind of a different kind of stream. Here right now, I'm getting up early. I'm gonna set a good example. In 15 minutes, I'm gonna call it quit to this session, so I can make my kids breakfast, get them to school, do all that stuff. I'll come back around 9 a.m. my time and get going with some different stuff. So there'll be more to come, but yeah, it'll be filling in the gaps in between my real life, not pushing out my real life. Oh, that tea is awful. I'm like, I have no idea how to make tea. Tea bag, water, go. I'm like, I hate it. Yeah. I think I let it steep too long. Just sitting in the bag for too long, maybe, because it's very bitter and crappy. This octopus looks like a giant scrotum or something. I believe I picked up the English breakfast tea from Trader Joe's. I'm not it's not like I paid exorbitant amounts for a perfect barista tea or anything like that. Okay, interesting. I don't think I got any specialty tea. Got some tea enthusiasts in the audience. Sakura tea. Is that cherry blossom tea? You know, you guys are good company for this. I've been getting a lot of good Octorok stuff done. This monster in particular was something I was not super confident about my ability to do some justice. I know I did like an interesting sketch. I like this sketch. I wanted to make it good. But I'm happy with how it's looking. Giant roving land octopus the size of a building. In the Zelda cartoon, the Octorok that I believe is in like the first episode is huge. In some of the games, the Octoroks are like tiny. That'll be a story point later where I'm thinking about this scene, like, here's this moment, they're trying to escape the Octorok. But why did the Octorok attack? And I was thinking, like, maybe they have an encounter with, like, a baby Octorok, and, you know, the baby Octorok is like, exactly. So this is like, baby Octorok, like, is being annoying and, like, throws a rock at Link and hits him in his head, so he, like, throws a rock back, and the baby Octorok gets scared and runs away into the bushes, and then they sort of, like, ignore it for a while. And they go and do something else, and then they're like, cool. And then all of a sudden, like, ground starts shaking. And then this giant motherfucking mama Octorok just, like, starts chasing after them. Feels like that's, like, a fun kind of story moment that could turn into a... Like, when I think about things like, well, how would I make a storyboard sequence? Like, something that feels like a story. And maybe, like, this Octorok is so big, like, they're like, there's no way, like, this sword isn't going to do anything. So while the big mama one is chasing them, they're like, get on the horse, let's go find the baby, or, you know, I don't know if they, like, grab the baby, they can, you know, calm it down or something like that. Like, get it to be like, yeah, you don't want to attack us if we're holding your kid, kind of I don't know I don't know where the story ends with that, or if that's even a good way to do it. Maybe they just escape. Because what can happen is, like, once you establish that, like, some of these, like, it could be that, like, the monsters in the show, or sorry, the in the movie, you could think of them more like animals, or like ethically morally neutral sort of beings, like we would think of a bear. Like, a bear can be a bad guy or a good guy, you know, depending on your point of view. If you want to be preserving it, maybe that could be a story theme, like Link is a warrior, but Zelda wants more, like, peace, and, like, how can we all live in harmony? Sort of like the message of the Miyazaki film, like Nausicaa. It's like a world of monsters. Skull Kid, yeah, something where it makes you think, like, is this the... am I doing the right thing by indiscriminately killing anything that could be a threat? The answer is, like, no, you're not. Or you are, but... But in order to be interesting, I think it's important that options like that get considered. So it's not just... Some things work in video games, but they don't translate well to movies or television. It's nice I've got people in the audience who are interested in art and know a little bit about Zelda. No, don't worry about it. Awesome. And did you say you stream? Because now I'm curious to check out your stuff. Like stream the art. It's okay if you don't. But I'm trying to be as good a watcher as I am a streamer. That part is hard too. Okay. Do either of you play Apex Legends? I did a lot of trailers for that series as well. Only mentioning it because the okay, chances are high that at some point in the near future I'll sketch some Apex stuff because a friend of the stream, Lollywobbles, has been very supportive, and I've been curious to see if I can give her a sketch of her favorite Apex Legends character as a thank you. Alright, 5 minutes, we will call it a stream. This is sort of altogether too much little detail on the Octorok. It's like a lot of little things to look at, and the scene itself is supposed to be extremely like intense with like a lot of movement. What can happen is a lot of little details can arrest a drawing, and especially if they're like fine details. What may happen is that I will sort of use some blending effects to reduce those distractions in the final image. But what I've done here is helpful for me to see the sort of to see the form clearly so that I can make those decisions intelligently. No, yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you so much for participating. It's, you know, these getting a lot more traction these days, but some of these streams can be lonely. That's okay. I don't, the real interesting thing is I've been drawing, and when I'm talking, I'm not necessarily insisting you respond. Some of this is just me rambling. But I've been drawing in a vacuum since COVID hit. I used to go on site to studios and make a real performance of what I did. Much like this stream, I would draw, and I would draw on I would take a giant screen with me to work. I used to bring it in a suitcase even. And I did that in order to sort of like assert where, like at one point I was a young artist trying to compete with older freelancers, and it was advantageous of me to like show up with all the cool techno gadgets that made it look like I knew what I was doing. And I did, but that helped clear any confusion as to whether or not I did. And I would set up my stuff and it would look amazing. All these different peripherals plugged in. I would be in the zone. And people would walk by as I'd be drawing and they'd be like, wow, that looks amazing. You know, are you a storyboard artist? Can I get your card? Can I talk to you about storyboards and stuff like that? And that would be something that would happen very regularly. And COVID hit, and since then I've been really isolated to a work from home experience where at most I'm on a Zoom call like once or twice a day with a handful of people that receive my drawings, but they don't see me draw them, and some of them just don't even care. And I'm not getting the feedback from my work, from my performance the way I used to. And I didn't realize how much I missed that until I started streaming and getting a little bit of that back. This is helpful. This is helpful for my psyche. I'm feeling like I'm more than just an email address that supplies data in the form of pictures. Conversations I'm having with you guys is a lot like the conversations I would have with some of the interns that would be at the studios, or other designers or art directors. Be curious, like, where are you from? How'd you get into this? You know, do you have any tips? And so this stream is sort of revisiting that as a concept. It's educational. For some. And hopefully entertaining. But it's good for me. It keeps me grounded, feeling like I can get the feedback that I used to get. And so if the on-site stuff never comes back, and it probably won't, I can still scratch that itch a little bit by doing this. All right, 6:15. Promised my daughter I would help her make scrambled eggs today, so I go to do that and enjoy it. All right, everybody. Yeah, you guys take care, and thanks so much for coming, participating. Live your lives. Don't worry about me. This will keep going, but I will probably come back around 9 or 10 a.m. to do more drawings, different drawings, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Thanks so much.